Hello and welcome to the Ryan Max Show. We're going live. It is election day in Illinois, across several states as well. I'm going to be breaking down as soon as the polls close here. They should have closed at 7 o'clock. I'm going to start rolling in some of the local races here in McLean County and our districts in the area. But first, we got some news stuff to get through and some interesting conversations that happened in the media this week. But let's break that down. So, probably the most important election of our lifetime is in November. Now, if you don't vote, you're essentially giving Biden um, the advantage. It's important that we show up. It's important that we vote. If you vote early, great. If you vote on election day, awesome too, because you can't change the rules if you don't win. I know that I want to see just one election day, not election season. But if you can't win unless you play by the current rules in place. So that's what we have to work with. So early looking at the early results coming in from McLean County and Central Illinois, it's very low turnout. And for primary season, generally is the case. But it's sad to see because local politics dictate sometimes what happens nationally, and because it impacts us more importantly than nationally sometimes. When your school board races, your precinct committeemen, your student count, your town councils, your village boards, your library boards, your your county boards, those are all local races that matter. And if you don't have the right people in place, you're going to have different policies start to take place. And what we're seeing around the country, socialists, Marxists, liberals are taking over county boards and taking over cities. And the Republicans have lost ground because they're not fighting. They're getting complacent and they're looking at the top of the ballot and say, oh, well, Trump's got the nomination, so why should we vote? We can wait till November. That's where you lose your city. That's where you lose your town, you lose your county, and you lose your state when you disregard what happens locally. So please get out and vote. This is not just about the general election. This is about your local races and keeping them out of the hands of lunatics from the left. With that, I'll bring up results from our county as we go and give you some of the updates on the races. But we have to talk about some things that happened this week. And the first thing I want to talk about is a local federal judge in Illinois thinks that it's okay for illegals to have the Second Amendment right. But when states like Illinois and Governor Pritzker and the Supreme Court in Illinois says everyday citizens in the state can't own an AR-15 because they're dangerous. But the illegal immigrant who's shot and killed with a weapon is not facing charges because he's guaranteed a Second Amendment right. I want you to ponder that for a second when you go to vote today. You, as an everyday American citizen, naturally born here, do not have any more gun rights in some of these states. You have to fight your way for gun rights, right? Second Amendment's important for Americans. However, if you're a liberal and you're a Democrat, not okay for everyday citizens, but it's okay for illegals. They get more rights now, according to Democrats. So that's where we're at. But that's the first note. And it was weird that she made this ruling because there are already laws on place that if you're here illegally, one, you're here illegally, that's a crime. And two, unlawfully having a weapon, also a crime. So this federal judge, her name is U.S. District Judge, she's U.S. District Judge Sharon Johnson Coleman on Friday, issued the ruling that a federal prohibition on illegal immigrants owning firearms is unconstitutional as applied to the defendant, Heriberto Flores. So she said that the court found that while the ban is facially constitutional, there is no historical tradition of firearm regulations that permits the government to deprive a non-citizen who has ever been convicted of a violent crime from exercising his Second Amendment rights. There hasn't been a precedent on that, but because most of the time the first law-breaking act is coming here legally, they prosecute that first. They don't worry about the amendment issues because they they worry about him being illegal here first. Secondary to that, this probably happens more often than not. It's just how often it gets to a court level when this comes to a case in court. So it's rare that it gets decided this way. But it still should have been written on the fact that A, you're here illegally, and two, you're unlawfully using a weapon because you're not here legally. You have to fill out all the background checks and you have to be a citizen and all that. If you're not from here, you don't get the same laws and respect as people who are here. That's just basic common sense. And we've got rogue judges and justices around the country thinking that no, illegals have rights first. So because Democrats think that no human is truly illegal. I don't know. So there's that. And then the other news and judicial area, when you have Supreme Court justices take the bench and decide that they themselves can dictate what the amendment means, and that they sometimes mean that the amendment says the government can intrude on your rights, they have to go back and read the Constitution. Okay. We know what's in the Constitution. The first Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, they were guaranteed to us from God, not the government. When Democrats think, well, the government gave you those rights, it can be taken away. That is not the case. So for anyone studying law or the Constitution, they need to go back and actually read it, because as the law is applied, it is to protect the citizens from the government, not allow the government to come after citizens. And what am I talking about? Well, you have a Supreme Court case this week on the Biden administration's attempt to pressure social media companies to censor information that they deem harmful or misinformation or disinformation. The problem with that is there is a First Amendment to protect citizens. And that right is to protect the citizens from the government encroaching on those rights in the First Amendment. Freedom of speech. Social media companies have been under blast before because they're not publishers. They're a content-driven space where free thought can happen. If they're publishers, they deserve more right, and they deserve more regulations. I can go on Facebook, I can go on Twitter or X, I can go on YouTube. I should have that right to be able to say what I want. It's the space allows. That's what these platforms were for. But the Biden administration just decided, no, if you're conservative, if you're someone on the right, or if you're someone that disagrees with us, you don't get a right to say things, because saying things like anti-vax or against COVID masks mandates or mandates in general, that's harmful. And so that needs to be censored. Who is the arbiter of truth? The government? Last time I checked, they should be the last in charge of the truth. Democrats want to be the arbiters of truth when it comes down to it. They want to control the narrative. They want to control the messaging. If they deem it harmful, they'll cut it off. That's what this is about. And the Supreme Court, I have little faith in how they're going to decide this case. But one individual in general has taken a weird questioning into her own hands. And I have a clip of that. And I want you to hear it, because I think those of you who are like-minded are even going to side with the fact that this is crazy for even suggesting that she could have said this. Because as a Supreme Court justice, your job is to interpret the law as it's written. You're not supposed to just legislate from the bench. That's Congress's job to make the law. Your job is to read the law as it's written and determine the facts based on that law. And if there's past precedents on rulings, you determine the facts leading to those cases. You're not supposed to just make up a new ruling based on what your own thoughts are. That's what you're supposed to negate. So the fact that she begins this line of questioning, that she has problems with the fact that the government can't censor information it deems harmful. So get a load of this and see what you think she's trying to say and where she's getting at.
Justice Jackson?
So my biggest concern is that your view has the First Amendment hamstringing the government in significant ways in the most important time periods. I mean, what would you have the government do? I've heard you say a couple times that the government can post its own speech, but in my hypothetical, kids, this is not safe, don't do it, is not going to get it done. And so I guess some might say that the government actually has a duty to take steps to protect the citizens of this country, and you seem to be suggesting that that duty cannot manifest itself in the government encouraging or even pressuring platforms to take down harmful information. So can you help me? Because I'm really worried about that, because you've got the First Amendment operating in an environment of threatening circumstances from the government's perspective, and you're saying that the government can't interact with the source of those problems.
And Your Honor, I understand that instinct, and I guess what I tell you is
Did you catch that? So she's insinuating that the government should be able to go through and have a duty to protect its citizens. Its duty to protect its citizens does not mean that it can drop information from social media sites it deems harmful. There's a difference between hate speech and speech that you hate. Democrats hate conservative thought. So what do they try to do? The Biden administration thinks it can go ahead and say, "Hey, Zuckerberg, can you take down Glenn Beck's tweet or Facebook post? Can you take down this?" They went to Twitter when they ran it then. "Hey, Hunter Biden's laptop. No, not a thing. Take that off social media. We don't need to hear that. Vaccine mandates? Yes, keep that up." Democrats want to control the narrative, so they do that by pressuring social media companies to silence conservative voices and promote their own messaging. The problem with that is that it violates the First Amendment. If you erase one side of thought, you have to erase the other side. Just because you disagree with something doesn't mean you get to eradicate it from existence. So I think I find it funny that a Supreme Court justice, of all people deciding this case, would be able to determine, okay, should the government be telling social media companies what to allow on their platforms? First, some might argue it's a public or a private company, like Musk has taken Twitter, but others would say no. The government has no idea what it's doing, and it shouldn't be allowed to pressure social media companies into silencing thought. I don't know. What do you guys think about what she said? I know I got some comments here. I'll go through them real quick. Gentry, nice to see you. I know I'm on X live currently. Thanks for chiming in. I'm a stud. I appreciate that. Jerry, it's kind of funny that Democrats want to take away our guns with every excuse. Now they have the perfect excuse to make sure illegals don't get them. But then they turn around and give them the opportunity. Yeah. What I want to know is how in the heck do these Democrats think exactly the same? Literally in every circumstance, they stand on the exact same thing, no matter how odd it is. And her brain isn't function, obviously. And how do you end up being a constitutional judge and not know the Constitution? Yeah. So it's funny. You can be a Supreme Court justice just depending on your skin color now. You don't even have to know the Constitution, because twice she couldn't answer facts about the Constitution when they brought it up during a hearing. And this is the same woman, black woman, as a Supreme Court justice, who doesn't know what a woman is, yet she still apparently doesn't know what the First Amendment is either. So it's odd that a Supreme Court justice, I'm not surprised, but it is a little odd that she even brought that up to topic. I don't know how they're going to rule. I suspect it's going to be somewhere between a 5-4 ruling either way. I don't know if the other justices that are supposed to be conservative and by the book are going to allow this. But we've seen them flip before and vote with the liberals. So it remains to see what they do. All right. So we've got justices saying rogue things about constitutional amendments. We've got judges giving more Second Amendment rights to illegals. Who knew? I don't know where we live in anymore. Are we in America? Are we in a constitutional republic? Do everyday citizens have rights? Because here in Illinois, we're losing First Amendment rights. Social media companies are silencing people. Gentry, I know you've been having problems with LinkedIn and Instagram, warning people not to even follow you. So I've been shadow banned and throttled down on Facebook before, even though I'm a smaller platform. So it's happening to all the voices who are showing dissent to the apparatus, the deep state. It's funny because the use of language and the disagreements of language is one it's insane. When this segues into my next topic I want to get into. Democrats will always accuse you of saying something, even though they can say the same exact way, and it's thought as okay, and it's profound, and it's great. What am I talking about? Trump made a speech this week, and as he does so very often, he uses phrases or words or terms, and he calls out the left, or he says uh, sometimes hyperbolic or exaggeration, but he calls it like it is 99% of the time. And when he means something is going to be a bloodbath, it's not literally a bloodbath, but he's going to call it like you see. He was speaking economically. Democrats lost their freaking mind on Twitter. They said, "How dare he? He's calling for violence, and we need to impeach him before he even runs for office. We need to assassinate him because that's all they do is call for violence." When you hear the speech, and I have a clip of, I'm going to play it here, what he really said, and then what I'm going to play for you is the reaction to what he said, and then I'm going to tell you exactly what Democrats are full of crap because they've used the same term bloodbath over and over and over again, and nobody called them out. Nobody said they were calling for violence. Nobody said they should be jailed or imprisoned or banned from office. But it's weird. The only people who are on the right get jailed, imprisoned, or canceled for using the same words. Now, everybody uses the word bloodbath. You say it in sports, you say it in the news, you say it in elections. Boy, that's a bloodbath. He got trounced in that electoral race. It's a word that's used not just in the literal sense of a bloodbath. But Trump was speaking, and here's the clip. He was speaking at his rally, and he was saying, if I don't get elected and change these policies, China is going to literally destroy our economy because they're going to take over the auto manufacturing as they already have in parts of their own country and Mexico. Jobs are going to be in these countries, and China is going to eat our lunch. But in his terms, he wasn't calling just eating our lunch. It was going to be a disaster for our economy if he doesn't win. Now, here's what he said.
Mexico has taken over a period of 30 years, 34% of the automobile manufacturing business in our country. Think of it, went to Mexico. China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. Now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars. They're building massive factories. A friend of mine.
A bloodbath. So you can tell right away he was speaking economically. It's going to be a disaster if he doesn't get elected. If the policies on manufacturing don't change, China's going to rule the day. It's common speak when you're talking about economic proportions to say bloodbath. But you know who's off the rocker about this? Not just most Democrats on X and the media heads. Joe Scarborough might have to pay a hefty fine because he said a bad word on live TV. He was angry. He was so mad that he almost crapped his pants. And he thinks that it was so terrible that Trump said bloodbath, and he meant literally a bloodbath, that he was going to kill Americans if he didn't win. He was going to have another insurrection. And I'm almost surprised he didn't say erection, incite an erection too. But listen to Joe on Joe Minka, and he gets a little hot and he says something stupid. But I want you to take close attention to what he says following the mishap or before the mishap.
He's talking about a bloodbath for America. It's laid out in the terms of it. And these idiots on Twitter, these idiots on cable news, these idiots on Sunday shows going, well, presidents, you know, he was talking only about the auto industry, and this is one more. It's just bullshit. Let me say that at 6:15 a.m. It's just bullshit. He knew what he was doing. We're not stupid. Americans aren't stupid. He was talking about a bloodbath. Sometimes a bloodbath means a bloodbath. And when he finishes by saying, and that's just going to be the least of it, seriously, these people may be stupid. We're not.
So I don't know about you. I used to be in radio a little bit. You can't say that on live TV. But you notice when he said it's about 6:15 and it's bullshit, I can say it because I'm not on the radio. But he's going to get fined at least, or his boss will get fined at least a couple $100,000. It kind of reminds me of when Anchorman said "F you, San Diego" after his transcript, and he got fired. Yeah, that's kind of a big deal. So no, Joe, he didn't mean bloodbath literally. And yes, you are stupid. Yeah, Mika has no brain. Yeah, no, she doesn't. She just sits there and yep, that's fine. You can say that. And it made me really think of Ron Burgundy. It was like, oh, bing, bang. Great episode, guys. Ron, you're fired. You can't say that. But it's not just media talking heads losing their mind. Because here is a montage of Democrats in the media and in the celebrities world. I've got two clips. I got one where they themselves have used bloodbath over and over again, and nobody says a word, nobody bats an eye. And weird, from the same party that's calling out Trump for inciting violence, they've become very hypocritical, because I have another 2-minute clip here of they themselves, out of their own mouths, calling for violence at different times during the last few years. So here's the first clip. Here is all the idiots in the media that have mentioned the word bloodbath, and you're gonna want to wash this down with some good old alcohol.
But as Politico.com reports tonight on the, quote, bloodbath at the RNC,
Headlines calling it a, quote, bloodbath.
Be a bloodbath. Not only is it going to be a bloodbath, but after they leave New Hampshire, it's a bloodbath on her home turf. That's really tough.
Trump has left a lot of corpses in his wake. I mean, we can count the bodies.
As part of the, quote, MAGA drive to take over Maricopa County. And the headline refers to it as an impending bloodbath.
Columnist Charles Blow has a new piece for the New York Times entitled A Biden Bloodbath.
2018 midterms, you can bet that they 100% are fearing a slaughter. In fact, the word bloodbath and massacre come up frequently.
The Republican Party will be destroyed. It's going to be a bloodbath.
There's going to be a bloodbath one way or the other.
Bloodbath for Bernie Sanders.
It's been a bloodbath. They're shaping up to be a bloodbath.
Head off a bloodbath in next year's crucial midterm.
Off-year elections are often a bloodbath.
This week's bloodbath for Democrats.
A bloodbath at the ballot box.
There could be a Republican bloodbath.
They'll talk about a bloodbath.
It's a bloodbath. I have to talk about you. And
It's going to be a bloodbath all day long.
Is in for a bloodbath.
Hasn't been a bloodbath on the way down. Donald Trump bloodbath. Be a bloodbath.
Predicted to be a bloodbath.
May not be the bloodbath.
It would be a bloodbath.
More of a bloodbath.
It's going to be a bloodbath in November.
Possible Biden bloodbath this November.
A bloodbath on Wall Street.
This can be a bloodbath
in Alabama into a bloodbath.
Obviously, there was a bloodbath. It was a bloodbath. We're down 800 points.
This bloodbath at Department of Homeland Security.
And it's a bloodbath today.
There was going to be this bloodbath.
Election bloodbath.
It could be a bloodbath for them.
Bloodbath, possibly.
Bloodbath that went through with the Attorney General.
Bloodbath 99 days out.
The bloodbath is going to look like
Presided over a bloodbath in the diplomatic corps.
Absolute, in my opinion, bloodbath. The Democrats are
calling it ticket sales turned into a bloodbath.
Ticket sales for singer Taylor Swift's latest tour.
It's safe to say the fans had a bloodbath for the company after the fiasco.
So where was the call to violence? Where was the call to them getting fired? Where was the tweets about them losing their jobs? Oh wait, they didn't. Because they said the same thing Trump did in the context of elections will be bloodbaths. Primaries are bloodbaths. Every primary is a bloodbath. it doesn't mean there's going to be literal bloodshed. It's just a phrase commonly used in the world of politics, and people say it every day. But only when conservatives or Donald Trump says it. When Trump says it, it's fire. It's fire everybody off with his head. For the life of me, I never understand. Well, I actually do understand because liberals are stupid. Why they continue to go this way, but that's one neither here nor there. But you see the examples. It's okay for them to say it, but when we say it, we need to be executed. We need to be told to shut up. It's our fault. The same party wanting you to sit down and shut up is the same party also committing the crimes they accuse us of doing. So here's another 2-minute clip, and then we'll start to see if we got some results in here locally on some of the races. Here's another 2-minute clip of literal violence incitement by Democrats and celebrity and idiots. You've seen it all. If you've watched these clips over the years, the last few years, you've seen them call this out. You had crazy Maxine Waters. You've got Kathy Lee Griffith. You got everybody. So here's 2 minutes of Democrats literally calling for violence.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look, as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Seems an awful lot like violence. Jerry, so hypocritical, and yes, they are violent. Someday good people are going to do bad things against them. Shh, you can't say that. All right. Those are the top stories from the last week or so I wanted to get through. I thought it was important to get through those. All right, so the main part of this. So this is election day. We already know. I know that the overlay I had was Trump and Biden, and that's important. They are the nominees again. They both clinched within the last week. So we have a rematch of 2020. I can't stress this enough. This November, like every election is important, but this November probably is either the most election of our lifetime, if you're between the ages of, 18 and 70. And the difference between having elections and not having elections, I'm going to coin a phrase like the left does. If the Trump wins, we won't have any more elections. No, that's not true. He's not for that. He's for the democratic practices we have, not democracy, but the democratic representation of what we do, the voting process. We have certain democratic principles. We are a constitutional republic. We have democratic representation principles within our government and how we operate. Having said that, I don't think that if Trump loses somehow, some way, Biden wins re-election or somebody else gets thrown in between now and the DNC convention, that future elections probably either will be more and more difficult to even put on or won't happen altogether. You've seen articles in the past, you've seen media companies in the past even portray, I think The Hill and a couple others the last few years have said, why do we have elections? Elections don't matter. We should just put people in power. That's fine. Because that's not America. That's never been how America does it. That's how North Korea does it. That's how Russia does it. That's how China does it. They just put people in power forever. That's not the way our system was designed. That's not our country's founding. And we are in very clear jeopardy of losing our founding principles if we continue to allow Marxist liberals and socialists to take over this process. We have elections for a reason, because if something goes AWOL, you vote these idiots out, Republican or Democrat. If something goes against the American people and their way of life, you vote them out. Every 2 years, every 4 years, every 6 years, whatever the cycle is, you have the opportunity to vote them out. That's what's important. That's a founding principle of American constitutionality. It insert Trump here, insert name here for Republicans. You need to find a true conservative candidate in your local election cycles. Don't just vote party. Don't just vote person because you fall in love with them. Stick to your principles. What's important to you? That's how you vote. Before we get into some of the local results here as they come pouring in, it's about 7:30 Central Time here in Illinois. I'll get through the numbers if I can pull them up from county area. But what my point is, vote what matters to you. Right, left, center, indifferent, whatever. Most people, believe it or not, are a one issue voter. They shouldn't be, but they are. 2022 midterms, we saw that abortion was a hot issue for suburban moms, for women in general, who want the choice to kill babies. That's what the decision was in 2022 that wrecked the election cycle for Republicans, because their message wasn't strong enough. Some of the candidates came staunch one decision: ban abortions and prevent babies from dying that way. And swing areas that affected the race. But you also had poor candidates. I don't think it was their stance on abortion. You had really poor candidates. You had Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania, who couldn't get elected dog catcher over somebody who couldn't think straight, in Fetterman. So you have to have the right candidate go up against these idiots in order to win and have a strong campaign. If you're in a very deep blue state, I'm sorry, my advice would be leave, because I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. It's going to get more and more progressive in your state, like Washington, Oregon, California, New York. Get out of those states, because those aren't going to turn in your lifetime. Probably they're probably going to get worse. But back to the main point: vote principle over party. Well, wouldn't you want to vote Republican? Yes, because even though Republicans don't solve all my problems, Democrats almost always are the cause of your problems. That was from Dan Bongino. Do I like every Republican? No, there are a lot of them I hate because they don't stand for the things I stand for. I vote Republican because more often than not, the party is going to favor everything that I align with for the most part. They're going to be idiots like Mitt Romney or Mitch McConnell or a smattering of others, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, who are really Democrats. There's no Democrats are never going to be Republicans. They're always going to be Democrats. Some Republicans are Democrats in Republican name. This is where you kind of have to do your due diligence, especially at a local level. If you're going to vote, disregard the top of the ballot. You know it's going to be Trump. Whoever's running, you vote Trump if you're picking a Republican candidate. Down ballot. Pay close attention to your school board races if they're in the running. I don't think they are this time around. Usually midterms area they have more. It depends on the cycles. School boards, city councils, village boards, library boards, because of what Democrats are doing, forcing libraries to hold books. Look, you want to get a library book that talks about trans people blowing each other? Fine, that's fine. But keep it away from kids, by all means. Fine. But vote principle. What matters to you? Church, religion, financially. The hotbed issue is the economy. Jobs have not been created since the pandemic started, since it happened. Jobs were recovered. So the lies that Democrats continue to say about, well, I've created 15 million jobs. Yep, everything's fine. Vote for Democrats. It's not true. And it's been debunked over and over again. 14 million jobs have not been created. They've been recovered. And more often, those jobs are either government jobs or a whole boatload of part-time jobs that people have to work 3 jobs just to make ends meet. What used to be a median salary to household income of about 80,000-90,000 would be considered median for middle class. Now you have to make an upwards of 180 just to be poor middle class. The standard of living and cost of living right now is off the charts. Inflation's not coming down. If you want to count real inflation like they counted in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, it's actually about 18%. But they started counting it differently, so it makes it seem less. But true inflation is about 18%, not 6. Are you happy with gas prices? Isn't it weird that both times gas prices were about $4 a gallon, Biden or Obama was in office? Weird. Now, yes, you can argue that, well, we had a pandemic and that shut down traffic because nobody drove, so they had to stay home, and so that lowered gas production. True, but also true that Trump had the leading exportation of resources in our lifetime. We were energy independent for the first time. And we made too much natural resources that we were exporting it and making money. And he was using that to fill up our reserves. Guess who unloaded our reserves again to send it and sell it to China? Joe Biden. So if you're happy with not being able to afford food, keep your home, drive your car, because in about 10 years, you probably won't be able to drive that because you won't be able to own it. You won't be able to own your house because you'll not be able to pay the payments. I know I saw an article earlier in the week from the Blaze talked about enjoy your $26 cup of coffee because delivery drivers are now going to be making like $50 an hour because they want to raise minimum wage for delivery drivers. Can you imagine in a world that everybody in delivery gets $50 an hour, you're paying upwards of $30 for a cup of coffee? Hey, can you spare a dime for something to eat or something to drink? No, I need $26 just to drink a cup of Starbucks because it got delivered to me by the guy making $50 an hour. This utopia of everybody can make $50 an hour according to Democrats, is the dream income. Who's paying for that? Who can afford that? Companies won't. They'll lay off everybody. You have to pay it what they call a living wage. You have to be realistic of the job, of the career, of the company that's providing a said service. If you're flipping burgers, why do you need $15, $18 an hour? Unless you're in management level, you're flipping burgers while the local EMT is making $10 an hour and has to work 70 hours a week just to get by. But someone making burgers and getting orders wrong can make 15. Where's the logic in that? Democrats don't care. They want you to not own your home. They don't want you to drive your car. They want you to be able to walk everywhere and have a 15-minute level of living so that you don't need transportation. So when I say vote principle over party, I vote the things that matter. Financially, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? If you are, I feel sorry for you because you're not. And you're lying if you say you are. If you're a liberal, you're stupid. So yeah, I'm better off. Well, yeah, because Orange Man bad. But I think most Americans will agree that even if you're not overly political, you're not better off than you were 4 years ago. So I think the choice is really simple. Yes, Trump is bombastic. He is off the wall. He says stupid things. But you have to admit to yourself, crime was not a problem as much as it was, much as it is. Law and order prevailed. The borders were secure. His worst year was Biden's lowest year. Biden came in office, I think, about 400,000, maybe, coming across. Now he's escalated almost 1 million a year. And he's upwards of 20 million people in the country. Cities can't handle it. You've got, never mind the border issue alone being a problem you should vote on. What about education? Are your kids in public schools in a state that says it's okay for a boy to be a girl and a girl to be a boy, and it's okay for a 40-year-old man to go in the bathroom with your daughter who's 5, even if he's not wearing a dress? Those of you who are like-minded, you have to understand it's not just about being president. It's not just about who's going to be your representative. It's about your family. Financially, are you okay? And education. If your kids are not in a good school where the school board has gone rogue and gone against the values of the school and what matters most in their kids' education. Kids in Chicago here can't read, they can't write. They're graduating with lower standards because Democrats have decided we don't need standards. Everybody gets a participation grade. You just show up to class and you get an A. We have lowered the standards across the country because of DEI. That's a whole other issue by itself, furthering education and furthering disaster in the country. You have woke DEI policies taking over schools. You have them taking over corporations. And what is happening? You're seeing the backlash. You're seeing BlackRock, one of the biggest financial asset companies that owns everything, take a step back financially because they can't afford to go woke. DEI is literally dying because people are trying to hire by skin color and gender and race and everything else except qualifications. So when it comes back to education, are your kids in good schools? And does your state or does your city, is it a good place? Is it low crime? If you have to answer those questions with no, then you're in the wrong place or you're voting the wrong way. Not every Republican you vote is going to do the right thing. But more often than not, most of those Republicans are not going to be that far left. And if you're talking to people who are running for office and you don't know who to vote for, maybe it's time that you made a decision to run for office. If you care about your kids and you care about their education, you care about your financial situation for your family and your future, then run for office. If you don't trust the current politicians, do your part and run. Make a determination. I know not everybody can run, but make a determination. If no one else is willing to do what you elected them to do, then you do it. Sometimes when you want things done your way, you have to do it yourself. So if no one's going to be voted and elected in and do what you ask them to, maybe you should start thinking about running. You vote financially, you vote with your money, you vote for your kids' future, you vote for your future. Vote Republican. I get it. Some of them suck, but it's better than voting for a communist who wants to take everything from you. And I know the majority of people watching and the majority of the people in our country, in our state, in our cities, they understand where I'm coming from. They may not always care about what Trump says. They may not like Biden, but they don't voice it publicly because they're afraid of being talked down to or being harassed. But when push comes to shove, get out and vote, even if you do so quietly. Low voter turnout means that you're losing control of your city, your state, your county, your country. You have to get out and vote. You can't complain about how things are and then just sit back and not vote. If you don't like the way the Democrats are running the country or your state or your city or your county, then vote. That's the process we have in order to change this. It's not going to get any better unless you try to vote or run yourself. That's where we're at. But vote principle. What matters to you the most? Vote on that. If you don't know the candidates during the primary season, ask, do your research, go up to the meet and greets, the pancake dinners where they're at, the pancake and sausage places where they're at. Go out to the free invites. I know some places cost money and we can't pay for every meet and greet, but when you get a chance to go talk to somebody, there's always coffee and conversations. They're knocking on doors. Campaigns are out there. When you want to know somebody and what they stand for, go talk to them. I've had several meet-ins. I've met politicians over the years. I met Darren Bailey several times. You have to get out and know the person that you're voting for. That's what matters. And if you don't like them, don't vote for them or run for yourself. That's all I know. All right, so it is 7:45. I'm going to try to see if I can share screen. See if I can pull up. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to click on, I don't know if it's a live review, and this might just be a report. So I don't know. Yeah, so these are all zeros yet because they haven't tallied anything. So I don't know if this is going to be something that be as it goes or not. But locally, we've got all kinds. We got Trump on the top of the ballot. We are in the 16th congressional district. Darren LaHood is our 16th representative. He was running unopposed in his district. In the 17th congressional district, which McLean County kind of fidgets its way in there, you had Scott Crowell, who DPB and I chatted with the other day on Thursday. You had Judge Joe McGraw running in that race. You had delegates. You had to choose the delegates for the Trump convention. You also had, let's see, alternate delegates for 16th and 17th. So you had alternate delegates. David Paul Blumenstein was a Trump delegate alternate for the 17th district. And I'm guessing that's because it runs the Bloom's normal area. And then you had District 46, State Senator District 46 in Illinois, Sally Owens. State Senator 53rd. So you have Mike Kirkton, Jesse Faber, Susan Wentz, and Chris Balkema. Those were on the ballot. You had representative in the General Assembly, District 87, William Howder. We got 88th district. We got Reagan Deering and Chuck Erickson. That's who's running in the 88th. You've got 91, Desi Anderson. In the 105th representative district that covers our area, McLean County and Gridley area, Donald Reince and Dennis Tipsword. In the 106th representative district, Jason Bunting, circuit clerk. You got Don Everhart versus the younger John Daisy. That's the county circuit clerk. State's attorney, Erica Reynolds. Auditor, we have coroner, Kathy Yoder. A member of our district from our precinct, Adam Reeves. He's on the ballot. You got county board. So this is where county board district 1, Adam Reeves. District 2, Mike O'Neill, Dennis Grundler. He's currently the Republican county chair. He's running in District 2 of the county board. So that's going. You've got county board 3, Brian Loeffler, George Wendt. You got county board 4, Jerry Klinkner, Chad Burke as county board district 5. And you've got Randy Knapp, district 5 also. Board 6, no candidate. Gary Stevens, district 8. Susan Schaefer, district 9. Ross Webb running 10. And you've got Supreme Court justices. You've got Lisa Holder White running as Republican to be the Supreme Court justice. You got replacing her at her level of the 4th appellate court, Amy Lannard for spot 1, and I think Jean Doherty. You got precinct committeemen that are running all over the place. So those are all out there, precincts. So get involved there if you want to run for precinct committeemen, because I think that we've got several openings. A lot of them don't have a candidate. So results have not come in yet, and I'm trying to see if it will update as we go. But let me know in the comments what else you guys think. I'll stay on for a little bit and see if I can't try to catch some of these results, if they can pop in from McLean County and other places. But I don't know where else we can get an official live kind of count. They used to do it on the local radio station here, and I'm just trying to do the same thing where we can get some things to pop up. Let's do download. Okay, so now we've got some coming in. Early votes. So ballots cast, registered. So there's 59,000 registered voters in McLean County. And the ballots cast total so far, I don't know if there's a running total, but there's 3,100 ballots cast. 1,596 Republican and 1,536 for Democrat. So about the same number of ballots cast so far. In the primary count for president, Trump has 1,000 votes out of the county, and Haley is in a close second with 440. So about 66% of the vote early on. So obviously, clearly, Trump is the only candidate. He is going to win the delegates here in Illinois. At the Republican side, it looks like Darren LaHood will take all of the votes for D16. Currently, we have Judge McGraw beating Scott Crowell 65% to 34%, just about 70, 80, 90, maybe almost 100 vote difference. Early, it's very early. They just started counting some of these precincts coming in. This what you're listening to. This Ryan Mack show I'm doing from Central Illinois. This is McLean County. This is the primary election night for Illinois. I'm running through some of the county numbers as they pop in, but feel free to add comments, or I think, see if I can copy, and then what I'll do is paste. Anybody who wants to join the stream, they can. I'll throw it in the comments section. Anybody wants to join and kind of chat about their thoughts, they can do that. I think if you're on Google Chrome, it might work out better. But what I'm doing is breaking down and kind of giving some of the early numbers here from Illinois. They should call it for Trump at some point here soon. At other places, if they haven't already. I know nationally, Fox probably will. I had an invite sent to DPB. I don't know if he can jump on. He's down in Effingham with the watch party for Darren Bailey. So I don't know if his phone is able to. Let's see. Send him a text and see if he can get on. If not, then we'll just do it that way. Comment here. So what's going to happen with this ruling from the judge in Illinois for legals to carry? That might have to be a lawsuit or appeal. I'm guessing by the attorney and the prosecutor attorney, the one that originally made the case for him using the unlawful weapon to begin with. That'll probably have to be appealed. So it'll go from I think it was a federal judge in Cook County or up north. They'll probably have to be appealed, and eventually probably have to go make it to the state Supreme Court, and then eventually a SCOTUS if it gets that far. That's what the steps is for that. It's very dark in my car on the way back from Effingham. All right. So he probably won't be. It's fine. All good. Anyway, so that's what the thoughts are there. So it has to be a process. So I'm not sure. I think she's the 4th district federal judge. So I don't know how much more it needs to go. I think it has to be appealed somehow, I would think, because somebody's going to take a look at that and go, that's not right. It's illegal. He's here illegally, and he's using an unlawful weapon as a result. So, all right, let's continue here. What we got? Some numbers have come in. We got delegates. The 3 Trump delegates looks like they're heading off the percentages. Some people still voted for DeSantis delegates. Dumb. All right, so Chuck needs 60% out of McLean County at the very least to overcome Regan. Thanks for that, DPB. All right, so I think, let me look and see. Chuck currently is at 48% and Regan is at 51%. So if Chuck is going to overcome that, he needs to pile up the votes and get about 60%. He is currently sitting at so it's very early on, but he is sitting at for the 88th seat. Reagan and Chuck are going at it, and she's currently about 14 votes ahead, just over 51%. So if Chuck is going to win that one, he's going to have to push at least 60%. And again, it's very early in that race as they get entered in here. Desi looks like she's going to take the 91. And Dennis Tipsword looks like he's at 63% currently. He's at 219 to 128 early on. In the 106, Jason looks good there. The circuit clerk looks like Don Everhart is going to run away with that one. He is the incumbent in the circuit clerk race, so it looks like he's at 77% early on. He looks like so pushing 50% already, and it looks like that may not change much. I don't know where all the votes are coming in after that, but yeah, it looks like she may pull that one out. In the corner race, obviously the ones that are unopposed, those are 100%, so we're locked there. Looks like the District 2, so vote for 1. So District 2, County Board, Seat 2, Dennis Grundler, Mike O'Neill. Mike O'Neill was 76% of the vote to Dennis's 23. That looks like it's going to go Mike O'Neill's way. Board 3, Seat 3, George Wendt and Brian Loeffler. It looks like it's going to go Brian Loeffler, 59% currently. District 4, Jerry Klinkler, he's safe there. District 5, Chad Burke, he's looking like he's going to take that one. He's already at 100%. You got District 5, Randy Knapp, he looks like he's going to take that one. 6, there's no candidate. District 8, County Board, looks like Gary Stevens is going to take that one. Susan Schaefer, no votes in for that one. Ross Webb looks like he's going to take District 10. Supreme Court, Lisa Holder White, she's going to lock that up. The appellate, yeah, all these vote 1. It's going to be the only one running, so it looks like those are good there. So again, I can repopulate this as we go. It looks like locally that some of these races should be called pretty soon. See if I can repopulate it. It still shows Trump 66%, 27%. So it looks like the numbers haven't changed. Judge McGraw is at 65% in the 17th district. So that's where we're at there. Texting DPB. Yeah, so if you're just tuning in, this is the Ryan Mack Show. I'm bringing you some updated live results of the numbers coming in McLean County primary numbers. I live in McLean County, Central Illinois. It's the Bloomington-Normal area is the county seat. It's a very large county, but surprisingly, not a huge turnout so far. Of the roughly 60,000 registered voters in the county, so far we've got 3,100 ballots cast in a primary. Now they're still updating, so these are the numbers so far. But it looks like some of these races are pretty much dead on arrival. Looks like Judge McGraw is going to win. It changed 76%, now it's at 65%. Yeah, it looks like Judge McGraw is going to win the 17th. So delegates look like they're in good shape. Alternate, let's see if DPB is going to win as an alternate. It looks like you're solid for an alternate, DPB. All right, so that's where we're at so far. Up over an hour, but that's usually where I run. I may go longer just to kind of keep hanging out and bringing these numbers in. Looks like in the Senate race here for the 53rd district, we had local guy Mike Kirkton here from Gridley. We look like Chris Balkema is going to take that one. He's up at 48% currently. I don't think that's going to change much. It looks like Chris Balkema might be the state senator out of the 53rd. Another close one here. Yeah, Reagan still at 51%. Dennis Tipsword's at 63. Everhart's still up there in the 70s. Yeah, it looks like most of these races are pretty much over currently, unless there's votes they haven't counted yet coming in from other precincts later. As it stands, some of the early numbers look like these races might be over with. But yeah, so there it is. You can find the results at McLean-County-Illinois.gov, and you can just simply go and search election results, and you can find the unofficial results just like I'm doing here. I can pull it up here just to let you guys see it. There we go. So there we go. This is the vote by mail and early voting unofficial results. And these weren't counted until after tonight. So they were start coming in. So here you can see what this looks like. And you can zoom in, you can see the, let me pull up the results here. So I'm going to bring them in. So it looks like you got the Trump here at the top. He's sitting at 66%. He's going to take that. You can see where I'm looking at the numbers here. That's 16th, Darren LaHood is our congressional, 16th, Judge McGraw there. So this is McLean-County.Illinois.gov. You can pull this up and see the running results. So like I said, we used to do this at Cities 92.9 and watch them kind of break down local races. We no longer have that local person, so I am your local person bringing you some of the early numbers. So that is what I'm doing. So if you guys have anything you want to add to it, I've got the link in the comment section. You can chat anything. You can bring anything up. What does this race look like? What is this? And go from there. But we're at over an hour, and I ran through some of the numbers. If you're here locally and you're curious, you can jump on and chat. Twitter, I think I saw. Yeah, that's all right. So I didn't throw it in Twitter yet, but the link. So if anybody wants to join and hop over YouTube and join, you can join on Facebook. So that's where we're at. You can go to McLean-County-Illinois.gov. That's all I have for tonight. You can check me out on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, X at the Ryan Mac Show. You can support the show at Venmo. It's down there at the bottom crawling. So here is the numbers. You can, if you're local here in McLean County, you can check them out on the McLean County website for official results. They'll be here in about a week or so. But yeah, there's the results. I gave some of the numbers, your candidates that you voted for. You can easily track them there. I'm going to head out. So thanks for coming in. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for showing up. And yeah, get out and vote. And then we'll see what happens. See you guys.